This video will cover setting up your CMMS to operate in a service provider environment. First thing you'll notice on this screen is the Submit Work Request option, and this is where our problem arises and what we're going to work on setting up. When I click Submit Work Request, my guest user is able to see assets and submit requests to every site. In most cases, this is not what we want. Instead, we want user-specific access to each site. Before we get into it, one thing you'll notice on this screen is the custom logo that I have at the top. This is a feature that you should contact Maintenance Assistant if you're looking at taking advantage of. Service provider CMMSs operate in a multi-site environment, and setting up multi-site is our first step. I'll log in as my administrator account. Multi-site works something like this, where assets are partitioned across the CMMS so that certain users only have access to specific data. To create a new site, I'll head to CMMS Settings, click Sites, and hit the plus button. Sites are added from the default No Site group and are higher level facility assets. If you want to learn more about multi-site, check out our multi-site video in the help desk area. With our sites set up, I'm ready to go. First, I'll show you an example of what a typical customer might look like in a service provider environment. I'll log in, and the customer has limited access. In this case, they can only see the dashboard, calendar, scheduled maintenance, and assets. This is good if you want your users to have visibility on the work that you're doing in their CMMS. However, if you click into any asset or work order, you'll notice that the users have read-only permissions, so they can't actually edit anything. The most important part about this is that they all have access to the Submit Work Request button, which appears under the dashboard. To set this up, I'll log back into my admin account. Under Settings, I have a list of users and their associated sites and accounts. Let's jump into the Chicago customer. The Chicago customer is currently only associated to the Chicago site. And within that site, they're part of my own custom user group called Customers. To set up a specific user group, head to Settings and User Groups. You'll see here when I click into my custom group, I have individual menu permissions selected. So for instance, our Help, Dashboard, Maintenance, and Assets. Along with menu permissions, I also have page permissions, and this is how I configure the read-only access. For instance, on my Assets page, they can access the page, however they don't have the option to edit. And on the asset file, they can access the page, however they don't have the option to save. Configuring these page and menu permissions is how you really customize exactly what your customers can view. Every scenario is unique, so experiment with these settings to match your needs. Let's say now I want advanced permissions for my Boston site. To do this, what I've done is I've duplicated my previous user group, Customers, and renamed it to an advanced customer site. And I'll make some changes to the menu and page permissions now. For the Boston site, I want my customers to be able to run reports in case they want to see any upcoming maintenance or get a snapshot of how the CMMS is doing. I'll go to the Advanced Customers group, click Menu Permissions, and enable the menu items Reports. Then I'll save and go into the page permissions, select Reports, and ensure they have access. On the report file, I'll make sure they can access and save the report in case they want to export it. Next step is to associate my Boston customer user that I've created to my Advanced Customers user group. I'll click into the user record, go to Sites and User Groups, deselect Customers, and add them to the advanced customers site. Now, when my Boston customer logs in, they'll have the same permissions, but now with the Reports menu item. The final step is to make sure the guest user can't submit work requests to any site, like we saw at the beginning. I'll go into my guest user and deselect it from every site and user group. By doing this, I get rid of the Submit Work Request button from the main screen and only allow logins from my registered customers.